My boyfriend dumped me for a rich girl on Friday. By Saturday, he was posting photos from five-star hotels. By Sunday, he was showing off expensive gifts she bought him. And by Monday, he wanted the whole world to know that he had upgraded his life, including me. Every photo, every caption, every smile, it all felt intentional, like he wanted me to see exactly how easily he had replaced me. And the worst part? For a moment, it worked, because while he was celebrating his new relationship, I was sitting alone in my apartment staring at my phone, trying to understand how 3 years of love could disappear in a single weekend. 3 years. 3 years of supporting him, believing in him, standing beside him when nobody else did. Gone. Just like that. But here's the thing. If you had asked Ryan a month earlier whether he would ever leave me, he would have laughed. Because for 3 years we weren't just a couple. We were best friends, partners, a team. At least that's what I thought. My name is Emma, and this is the story of how the man I planned to marry chose money over love. How he broke my heart for a woman he barely knew. And how, exactly 1 week later, the same man was calling me over and over again, begging, crying, desperate for a second chance. But by then, everything had changed. To understand why Ryan came back, you first need to understand how we met. 3 years earlier, neither of us had much money. We were just two college students trying to survive. I met Ryan during my second year. The professor assigned us to work on the same project. When class ended, Ryan walked over to me holding a notebook. Looks like we're partners. I smiled. Looks like it. That simple conversation changed everything. First, we only talked about school. Then we started texting. Then spending time together. Then somehow, we became inseparable. Ryan wasn't rich. Neither was I. We couldn't afford fancy vacations, expensive dinners, or luxury gifts. But honestly, we didn't care, because we were happy. Or at least, I was. Back then, Ryan used to tell me about his dreams. He wanted success, a big career, financial freedom, a better life for his future family. And I admired that. I loved how ambitious he was. I loved how hard he worked. Most importantly, I loved how he never gave up. Whenever Ryan doubted himself, I was there. Whenever he failed, I encouraged him. Whenever life knocked him down, I helped him get back up. I believed in him even during the moments he stopped believing in himself. One night, after a difficult exam, we sat outside the campus library. Ryan looked exhausted, defeated, like the weight of the world was sitting on his shoulders. I don't think I'll ever be successful. I looked at him. What are you talking about? He laughed bitterly. Look around. Everyone is smarter than me. Everyone is ahead of me. I shook my head. No. Ryan looked away, but I continued. You work harder than almost everyone I know. You don't quit. You don't make excuses. You keep going. For several seconds, Ryan stared at me. Then he smiled. A real smile. The kind that reached his eyes. Years later, he would tell me that was the moment he fell in love with me. And honestly, I think it was the moment I fell in love with him too. Back then, I thought love was enough. I thought loyalty was enough. I thought if two people truly cared about each other, nothing could come between them. I was wrong, because I hadn't met Vanessa yet, the woman who would change everything. The first time Ryan mentioned Vanessa, I didn't think much of it. Why would I? People meet new coworkers and clients all the time. It wasn't unusual. It wasn't suspicious. At least not yet. One Friday evening, Ryan called me after work. He sounded excited. More excited than usual. Guess what? What? My company got invited to a huge networking event. I smiled. That's great. You should come with me. There was a brief pause. Then Ryan cleared his throat. Actually, the invitations are limited. I can only bring one guest. I laughed. Okay. Then I'm obviously your guest. Another pause. A longer one. And suddenly, something felt wrong. Ryan. He hesitated. I already promised the spot to someone from work. I frowned. Who? Vanessa. For a moment, I thought I had heard him incorrectly. Vanessa. Yeah. She has important connections. She knows a lot of investors. I felt a strange discomfort in my chest. Not jealousy. Not yet. Just confusion. Because in 3 years together, Ryan had never chosen another woman over me. Not once. Still, I tried to be understanding. Okay. It's just a work event. Have fun. Ryan sounded relieved. Thank you. But after the call ended, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The networking event happened the following Saturday. Ryan posted photos online. At first, everything looked normal. Business leaders. Fancy decorations. Expensive suits. Then I noticed Vanessa. She appeared in almost every picture. Standing beside Ryan. Smiling beside Ryan. Laughing beside Ryan. And somehow, that uncomfortable feeling returned. I clicked on her profile. The moment her page opened, I understood why Ryan was impressed. Luxury vacations. Designer clothing. Private yachts. 5-star resorts. Sports cars. Everything looked perfect. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked like the life Ryan always talked about wanting. I closed the app, trying to convince myself I was overthinking. But deep down, a small voice inside me whispered something I didn't want to hear. Be careful. The following week, Ryan became different. Subtly at first, then more noticeably. His replies became shorter. His calls became less frequent. Our dates became less important. Whenever I wanted to spend time together, he suddenly seemed busy. One evening, I waited nearly an hour at a restaurant. Ryan never showed up. When he finally called, he sounded distracted. I'm sorry. Something came up. I looked around the empty table. What happened? Vanessa invited a few people to dinner. I couldn't say no. The words hit harder than they should have. Because he had just said no to me. I forced a smile he couldn't see. It's okay. But it wasn't okay. Not really. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I was losing him. And the worst part? I wasn't even sure he noticed. Days passed. Then weeks. And Vanessa's name appeared more and more often. Vanessa said this. Vanessa knows that. Vanessa's family owns this company. Vanessa invited us there. Vanessa bought this. Vanessa traveled here. Vanessa. 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 Felt like she was everywhere. One night, Ryan showed me a photo on his phone. Vanessa standing beside a luxury sports car. Can you imagine driving something like that? I looked at him. Is that all you see? What do you mean? I pointed toward the picture. Do you see a person? Or just money? Ryan laughed, but there wasn't much humor in it. Easy for you to say. I stared at him. What does that mean? Ryan sighed. You don't understand. Understand what? He looked away. How hard it is watching other people have everything. For a moment, I didn't know what to say, because I understood ambition. But this felt different. This felt like envy. And envy was changing him. Slowly, day by day, the man I fell in love with was disappearing. And someone else was taking his place. Then came the moment that truly scared me. A few days later, Ryan and I met for coffee. Halfway through our conversation, he suddenly checked his phone. A smile appeared instantly. A smile I hadn't seen in weeks. Who is it? I asked. Vanessa. The smile remained. Something inside me sank. Because for the first time, I realized he looked happier reading her messages than talking to me. And that was the moment I knew. This wasn't just about money anymore. Ryan wasn't simply impressed by Vanessa's lifestyle. He was becoming attached to her. Maybe he didn't realize it yet. Maybe he was still lying to himself. But I could see it. And deep down, I think he could too. The question was no longer whether Vanessa would come between us. The question was how much damage she would cause before it happened. Unfortunately, I was about to find out, because 3 days later, Ryan sent me a text message. A message that would change everything. Emma, we need to talk. And suddenly, my heart dropped. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. And for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about Vanessa. When I arrived, Ryan was already there, sitting at a table near the window. But he wasn't alone. The second I saw her, my heart sank. Vanessa was sitting beside him, not across from him, beside him, laughing, smiling, looking completely comfortable, as if she belonged there, as if she belonged with him. Ryan noticed me standing near the entrance. His smile disappeared instantly, and somehow, that made everything worse, because it looked like he felt guilty. I slowly walked toward the table. Neither of them stood up. Neither of them greeted me warmly. The atmosphere felt cold. The moment I read Ryan's message, my stomach dropped. We need to talk. For simple words. But everyone knows what those words usually mean. Especially when they're sent by someone who's been growing distant for weeks. I stared at my phone, trying to convince myself I was overthinking. Maybe it was about work. Maybe it was about his family. Maybe it was something completely unrelated. But deep down, I already knew. The next day, Ryan asked me to meet him at a restaurant downtown. One of the nicest restaurants in the city. The kind of place we normally couldn't afford. That should have been my first warning. Ryan never spent money carelessly. Yet somehow, he had chosen one of the most expensive places in town. The entire drive there felt strange. My chest felt tight. Uncomfortable. Wrong. I sat down. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. What's going on? Ryan looked at Vanessa, then back at me, and that tiny movement told me everything. He was looking at her for courage, looking at her for permission, looking at her before speaking to me. My heart broke a little more. Ryan took a deep breath. Emma. The way he said my name made me want to cry, because it sounded like goodbye. We need to be honest with each other. I swallowed hard. Okay. Ryan looked down at the table. Then he finally said it. I don't think this relationship is working anymore. The words hit like a punch to the chest.